This is going to be a quick video about my Pulverize leveling build. I did enough changes that I thought I should probably make a video for it. After getting my hands on it during the season and leveling up with it, I decided I wanted to change it up a little bit. It's more or less the same build, but I changed a couple of things around without really losing much. If you're unfamiliar with the build, we're basically using Stormstrike as our spirit generator. We're using Pulverize as our main damage source, but I'm adding in Rabies as a poison source. We were already using Poison Creeper as a poison source. We've got Trample as a spirit generator, and then we've got Cataclysm for a nice ult damage. The reason I added Rabies in is because the seasonal track has in the very first chapter a virulent aspect. This reduces the cooldown on your Rabies for every enemy that it spreads between, which basically means this can come back almost instantly. In addition, I changed the retaliation aspect on the two-hander weapon to Changeling's Debt. This is really handy as our aspect for a two-hander weapon because you can farm this from a dungeon. That means that when we're upgrading our weapon throughout the season, that we can just imprint this from the codex and we're going to get a large boost in our damage. And if you aren't familiar with Changeling's Debt, basically we apply our poison damage, and then when we deal damage with the bear skill, we're going to consume the poison and do a higher percentage of what the initial poison damage was. I kept all the spirit boons the same. We've got Wariness, Scythe Talons, Avian Wrath, and Obsidian Slam, except for Pack Leader. Pack Leader I swapped in instead of Energize. This is going to give us a chance to reset the cooldown of our Poison Creeper, and that means both of our poison skills have a chance to instantly cool down. Again, for the aspects, the only two that changed are the Virulent aspect and the Changeling's Debt. Everything else here is the same as before, but we're going Quicksand, Disobedience, Ursine Horror, Aspect of Might, Virulent aspect, and Changeling's Debt. And actually, I got a chance to get my hands on it, so I'm going to update the Disobedience aspect here to Juggernaut, because this thing's amazing. For our amulet, we're sticking with the Shockwave here. This is the hardest part of this build. If you happen to find the Shockwave aspect, awesome. If not, you could put anything else here and it'll still be pretty good. For example, the Virulent aspect that we're getting, you could easily put this onto your amulet until you get a Shockwave, and it's going to increase the effectiveness of the cooldown. Keep in mind, you might be a little stretched for mats early on, so be careful how much you imprint. We're also running Aspect of Natural Balance and Umbral. If you haven't found an Umbral, it's a game changer for this build. And the best way to find this is by purchasing rings at the Obel vendor. I kept the same gems, so we're going Ruby, Ruby, and Diamond. And the only thing I changed on the Sinistral Construct is that I added Poison support onto our Lightning Bolt skill. Early on, you're not going to have a lot of these, so you just kind of have to put stuff on and see what works. I did, of course, have to make some updates to the skill tree with these changes, but we're going Storm Strike to Fierce Storm Strike, maxing out Pulverize and going to Primal Pulverize, maxing out Ancestral Fortitude, maxing out Poison Creeper and getting Ferocious Poison Creeper, maxing out Provocation, maxing out Stone Guard, maxing out Envenom, getting 1 point in Trample and going to Savage Trample, maxing out Defiance and maxing out Resonance, getting Cataclysm and Supreme Cataclysm, maxing out Heightened Senses, and then we're keeping the Ursine Strength. And for those of you that are transitioning into the late game, I figured it might be useful if I added a little bit more to the Paragon board here. So I went ahead and changed the Domination glyph to Outmatch. The reason I did this here is because we're going to be able to get the bonus for Outmatch without getting the glyph to level 15, and we couldn't do that with Domination. I also added a second board here, which is Ancestral Guidance, and we're going to get a little bit of stuff to help us manage our spirit here, especially if we haven't gotten Umbral yet. And that's it for this build. Hopefully this helps you guys that are still leveling up. And if you have any insights or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I'll see you guys on my Twitch stream. Daddy Druid out.
Now I need to go get to level 100 so I can play Stormclaw.